and you're live now.
Hi, my name is Cindy Wilmshurst, and I'm with the State of Utah Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. We'd like to welcome you to our presentation today. We're appreciative of the Spanish Bark Library for helping us to get it set up with this. And I hope that you'll be able to see my presentation on my laptop okay here tonight. I also have a colleague who is in the chat area and will be, if you have any comments or questions, she'll be able to respond to those. So just feel free as I go through the presentation to just chime in with a question or a comment, and she can help me to know what those are. We have a texting little thing going on here, so messaging, so we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start. So what we want to do is we're going to tell you a little bit about our program, and that's in the presentation here, and we want to, again, welcome you tonight to our presentation. Okay, so the presentation tonight is on ways to cope individually and as a community with COVID-19. So the Utah Strong Recovery Project, which is what we're part of, is funded by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and it is facilitated by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration on the federal level, but it's operated here on the state level through the Department of Human Services through the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. So what we do, so we are FEMA-trained disaster counselors to help all of you who are feeling the impacts of the stress of COVID-19. I think everyone in our community and in our state is feeling this, but some people are feeling it to a greater or less degree. And so our goal is to help you find ways to cope with this and to manage better, especially not just as individuals, but as a community here in Spanish Fork. So I'm going to go ahead and forward this again. We also provide, we do virtual outreach to people like this through the computer. We do in-person outreach still for people who are okay with using their personal protective equipment, their masks and such. Social distancing with us, we will come and meet you in a place that you feel safe, that we can social distance and talk with you still, because there's just one or two of us. We also do support groups. We run community education programs like tonight, which is kind of a quasi-support group, community education group tonight. And so we provide just emotional support, coping strategies, and things like that. Okay, so we also, this is really important, we have a statewide hotline, Helpline. So, and we do it, it runs 7 days a week from 7 to 7. You can reach us at our number here, and it's 385-386-2289, 385-386-2289. You can call us. There's trained counselors on the phone who will answer you and talk with you, and if you decide you wanted ongoing support in the form of counseling with one of our team members, we can arrange that for you, or anyone on the community level who'd like us to do a presentation, come and help them with something. We're happy to do that as well. We also have Spanish-speaking counselors that are available. So for those of you who perhaps belong to a Spanish-speaking organization, we're happy to come and present to you as well. And we also have counselors who can talk with you in Spanish. So we're going to introduce you to our program here, and we're going to run a TV spot from KUTV. Tell you a little bit about it.
This has tens of thousands of Utahns asking for help to survive COVID stress and anxiety. It's a program that just started in June to tackle the ever-growing demand for regular people trying to get through the pandemic. Jim Spiewak found anyone in the state can access the information. Jim?
Yeah, Mark, so there are counselors that can help people in every single county in the entire state of Utah. And here's how it works. People can reach out to this program. They can email, they can call on their phone, and if they want to, they can even text.
In this story, you're not going to hear from the people who have reached out for help with their COVID-related anxiety or stress. That's because the program set up to help is entirely anonymous.
It's actually good that you don't need a name because we are free and a confidential program, so I don't have the person's name.
Rebecca Minnick runs the Utah Strong Recovery Project. What is 50 counselors all over the state now started up the third week of June, and they've already served more than 68,000 people.
We are available to talk with folks that are struggling right now.
Like the person who just recovered from COVID that reached out to Rebecca to talk to her right before she got to our interview.
And is really struggling right now because his friends, family, and coworkers don't want to be around him. They're afraid that he's still contagious, that they're going to be sick.
Rebecca says the anonymity is what propels people to reach out.
And nobody's broken here. I mean, we are all struggling with this very uncommon situation.
Rebecca says many times the people stressed out calling in for help are the same people who post perfectly happy pictures on social media.
I'm going to think there's really something wrong with me, not realizing that if I were to ask them how are they really doing, they're probably having that same anxiety and stress that you are.
Even with all of the demand, Rebecca says the program has enough people on staff right now.
And it's not just people reaching out to these counselors directly for help. These counselors will go to schools, elementary schools, middle schools. They're at the Maverick Center talking to folks, and they speak in front of groups of people to try to give them tips on how to deal with a lot of this anxiety and stress. If you or someone you know wants to reach out, again, totally anonymously, we've put all the resources and the phone numbers that you can call, email, or text over on our website, KUTV.com. We're live downtown tonight, Jim Speedway.
It says,
Okay, I'm going to have to go back and view this again, so hold on just a second. There we go. Not so good with my right hand. Okay, all right, whoops.
it says
Hold on
tens of
here.
thousands of
Oh,
Utahns asking for help to
There we go. Okay, so one of the things we want to talk about a little bit here is a lot of us here with the Utah Strong Recovery Project have been trained to help people with disasters. And the pandemic can be considered a type of a disaster, but yet it's a little different. So we kind of want to talk about that for a moment. So what's novel and unique about COVID-19? So as you know, the virus is everywhere, and it's an uncertain time frame about the illness, the recovery, the vaccine, and when we'll return to normal. As you know, they've been telling us that we'll be having the vaccine first come to our state for our healthcare workers in December, and that looks like a pretty good timeline, and they have a timeline rolling us out through the new year. So that'll be positive. Of course, it'll go to our healthcare workers, first responders, people over 65, people with special medical conditions first, and then the general population. So it's on its way to us. We just have to be a little more patient. So right now we have physical distancing, masks, eye protection, hand washing, and then as you know, it's invisible, so we can't detect it. So we don't know those people who have it and those who don't sometimes, because a lot of people are asymptomatic. So it's different than a natural disaster, because usually a natural disaster sometimes we get advance warning it's coming. We can see it. It's limited to a certain locale. Sometimes people can escape it. They can evacuate. But this is everywhere. It's ubiquitous. It's all around us. So how do disasters affect us? So previous research on the mental health status of those who survive wars, natural disasters, and other catastrophes shows that although they might feel distressed, the majority of people recover without long-term psychological problems. So that's a really good news. So we're probably talking at least probably 75%, at least of the people are going to recover 80% without any problems, even though it'll be a bit of an adjustment. So recently, the Kaiser Family Foundation did a poll in California, and in late March 2020, after everything shut down, after it hit, the above poll was conducted asking American adults whether the pandemic-related worries were harming their health. So 45% said they were, and by the end of July 2020, that number went up to 53%. So it's having a substantial impact on the mental health, not just of adults, but of teenagers as well, and children. So Dr. Victor Carrion out of Stanford University School of Medicine, I really like what he said. He said the emotional consequences of the pandemic will vary. Some people are discovering strengths, including the capacity to adapt to the strange circumstances and support their loved ones. So other ways the pandemic might impact us some examples are some people have lost their job or their income shortly, and sometimes some people are back to work. They've found new jobs. Sometimes some people are looking forward to accomplishing some projects they've never had time to do before. Some people have gotten ill with COVID, or they've known loved ones that have. Some people are enjoying the opportunity to work from home. Some people are feeling distressed. Some people are enjoying catching up on their sleep. Some are frustrated by some of the limitations, like the social distancing and mask wearing that we have to do. And some are appreciating the time to go exercise, exercise at their home, take some time to go walk outside, ride their bike. So other ways it may impact us are more time to reach out to others. Sometimes people are having new or increased use of alcohol or drugs for people that have had substance abuse issues. Some people are enjoying online shopping. Isolations, a lot of people feel a sense of isolation from family and friends. Some people are finding this a time to have gratitude, focusing on the positive things in their life that they're thankful for, realizing what's happening all around the world. Some people are feeling fatigued. They're tired of it. Some people actually took an early retirement. And then some people, again, as I said before, have found new jobs. So I want to ask you if you can think for a moment, and you're welcome to send any comments you might have into Carly, which is, how has the pandemic affected or changed your life? And some of your answers will be similar, and some of them will be quite unique. If you can think about that, if you want to text anything into her, she can share it with me. Okay, moving on. So any change, positive or negative, affects our thoughts, our feelings, our behaviors. It affects our normal functioning. And we also have physical changes to these things, any change. So now, if you could take a minute now to specifically identify how the pandemic has affected you, your thoughts, your feelings, your behavior, and your physical health and your behavior. So your functioning. So you might want to say, well, my thinking is pretty good, but I might feel worried about things. And then because of what I'm worried about, I might have a sense of anxiety. And then you can say, well, maybe because I have anxiety, I might be getting headaches. And then maybe I'm just not, functioning on my normal level because of my anxiety at work or with my family. So I'm going to share another video with you. It's ways communities are coping, and this is a really neat, inspirational video. Ways communities are coping with the pandemic, and I think you'll appreciate watching this.
The possibility of bringing us together in ways none of us would have been able to predict or expect.
8, 7, 8.
I'm so small, said the mole. Yes, said the boy, but you make a huge difference.
Isn't that inspiring? I just love that. There's people all around the world that are feeling the effects of COVID, and it's how they're responding to it in their communities, and I love that. Okay, so, hold on here. Do that again. There we go. So Dr. Shaylee Jane, again out of Stanford, said, humans can cope with incredibly stressful situations when they feel they're empowered to deal with it. Good social support is a key protective factor during and in the aftermath of stressful events. So this is one of the reasons we're grateful that the Spanish Fork Library is having us do this presentation, because they and us are interested in you feeling this sense of support as a community, as members of your community, not just as individuals, but that you belong to a community. It's important to focus on the positive ways the community is responding to this experience. What positives do you see happening around you? Have you seen people in your community do surprising things that were positive to help others? Please think about and share specific ways you can add to the positive responses in your community. What are some things that you've thought of maybe that have come to your mind? Even if it's just something for your neighbor next door. Something you can do that helps someone else, lifts them out of perhaps their isolation, their loneliness, their anxiety, maybe their depression. Anyway, something like that. So we want to share some ways to cope with you, and these are just some ideas, and maybe you've come up with your own, and if you want to share some of them, we'd love to hear about it. So some ways to cope are, of course, exercise. We talked about that. Taking a walk, riding your bike. Those are good kind of things you can do by yourself and social distance at the same time. Use aromatherapy, maybe a candle that you love or an incense that you love to help you relax. Reduce your caffeine intake. That's really important because you're already stressed, and caffeine tends to kind of do that, rev you up. So if we kind of lower our caffeine intake, that'll be helpful. Write down things you're grateful for. We've talked about that. Chew gum. Keep in touch with friends and family, through, we can do, your Facebook or call them or anything like that. Spend time with your pets. For those of you, I think you probably know that the shelters everybody's been adopting pets when COVID hit. Everyone in the United States is out to the shelters adopting a best friend because they were lonely. It was hard to be home and shelter in place. Some other ways to cope. Find a way to laugh. Maintain your humor. Watch your favorite comedy on television or one of your favorite movies that makes you laugh. Learn to say no. So you can set boundaries and go, no, I don't really feel like doing that today, because you need to feel like you're in control. Keep to a routine, but try not to procrastinate important things. Listen to music. I thought the music that we listened to on that video that we were watching, I thought that was beautiful. Music can transport us to a different place, and that's a really nice thing. Take us back to a good memory that we have of a time with family and friends or a special place. Breathe deeply. Spend time in nature, and again, watch your favorite TV show or movie. So we have a little diagram here of other things you can do. Well, now, earlier when it says talk with family and friends, as you know, you want to do this virtually right now, or you want to stay in your nuclear family, but you don't want to bring other families together because we're trying to slow down the infection rate right now of COVID. But you can also talk to a counselor if you want to. There's counselors that do it like us, we do it over the computer, or we'll call you. Keep a healthy lifestyle, maintain your routine like we said. Use your past coping skills and techniques that you've used in other situations. Disconnect from media and limit that so you limit your panic. What are some other ones here? Prepare an emergency supply, seek accurate information, and acknowledge your feelings. Say, this is how I'm feeling, but this makes sense because I'm having this uncommon experience, like what you heard on KUTV News. You're having an uncommon experience, but what you're experiencing in this uncommon event is normal. It's really important to recognize that and be kind to yourself. So we just want to kind of review that we are resilient. All of us are resilient, and if we don't feel resilient, we can learn how to be resilient. And there's 5 pillars of resilience. The first one is self-awareness. Be aware of how this is affecting you, and maybe it's impacting you really well, and you can then reach out to others who are struggling. Mindfulness means to kind of be mindful of your present moment, and let yourself just be okay in that moment. Sometimes a good way to do this is to take a few deep breaths, like we mentioned earlier, because it helps you take control of the moment. Self-care, whatever that means for you, that makes you feel relaxed or content. Again, positive relationships. We all need a support system, whether it's a person or an animal. Animals feeling quite well, for those of you that have best friend animals. And then to remember that you have a sense of purpose, that we all have a sense of purpose, and we can think about, what is my purpose, or what little thing can I do? It doesn't have to be big. It can be some small thing. Just smiling at somebody or waving at somebody, a nice gesture, just goes a long way. So, in closing here, we would like to know if you'd like to do this again. And I'm not really sure if there's a way that they can send you a message online at the library, and because we can do, we can either do kind of a online support group for you, or we can do another educational group. We have a lot to share. If you're interested, please let the Spanish Fork Library know, or send us a message on Facebook Live. And again, we want to thank you so much for coming and to this Facebook Live presentation, and we value your presence. And again, we have this, the COVID helpline number again is 385-386-2289. Again, we're available to talk with you 7 days a week from 7 to 7, and we can also meet with you personally online on the computer right now to help in any way that we can. And we also have some after hours crisis help as well. So if you see any numbers you want to write down there. But you can, this will be posted to the library. It's being recorded, so you'll be able to watch this and go back and refer. But again, we want to thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a good night.